Now, from the News Channel 5 network, this is Medical Mondays.
Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on News Channel 5 Plus for our Medical Mondays. I'm Casey Mason, and tonight we're talking about skin cancer awareness. And joining me this evening is Dr. Dawn Vincent. Good evening, doctor. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Casey. Thank you for having me tonight.
You know, we were talking before we came on air tonight just about how this is really one of the most downplayed cancers, yet it's the most common.
It really is. Most people have either a family member or a loved one who's been affected by skin cancer. And if you look at all of the cancers that we are aware of, lung, colon, breast, and you lump those together, the number of skin cancers triples that. So 10,000 people in the United States are being diagnosed with a skin cancer every day.
I mean, those numbers really are alarming, and you know, that's why tonight I'm excited to learn more about this topic. I think it's one that we could really educate ourselves on, and of course, you know, tonight we are live here in the 5 Plus studio, and we want to hear from you. I mean, this is free medical advice from an expert. You can't ask anything better than that, and you'll really kind of get to know more about this cancer and some of the misconceptions. So we do want to hear from you. Be sure to keep our lines busy this evening. I'll get that number here for you. It's 615-737-PLUS. So be sure to call in. We'd be happy to even hear your personal stories, any questions you may have, or you know, anything you want to ask Dr. Vincent about tonight. So, well, doctor, since we have you here this evening, I want to hear a little bit about your background, kind of what led you into this line of work.
Well, it's interesting because growing up, I never thought I wanted to be a physician because I don't like school that much. So it wasn't something I had an initial interest in. But when I was in college, I developed an interest in helping people. And when I got into medical school, I definitely knew that the skin, the dermatology field is one that I would have a particular interest in, because being a fair-skinned person and coming from a generation where we laid out all the time and I had a lot of sunburns, I knew that it would be very impactful on my life personally, and being able to see all age groups of patients was really what drew me to the field.
Yeah, well, you know, and how many years would you say you've been in the field now?
This is my 19th year in practice.
Any things that really, as a doctor, you've just learned that you didn't expect when you entered this field?
Dermatology is always a surprise, and probably all physicians in medicine would say the same thing, but with dermatology, every day is different because you don't know who is walking through the door and what they may have on their skin. A lot of patients come into the clinic with a preconceived notion that they have a wart on their finger, and they come in and it's not a wart. It may be a skin cancer, and the patient didn't know that. But that is the importance of being aware of changes with your skin and getting skin checks with a dermatologist. Well,
we're definitely going to talk about, you know, things to look out for, ways to prevent it. There's really things that we all could be doing to at least help the cause. I know the sun is something that we share the world with every day. It's there, whether you know, it's always there, and it's something that, you know, you really have to be aware of. Even just, you know, in the wintertime months, it's something that I definitely want to talk more about as we get into tonight's show. Some things we can all do to just really help our skin. Again, as we were talking before the show, it is our body's largest organ, and we need to take care of it.
Absolutely, no doubt.
So let's go ahead and dive into, you know, really skin cancer overview. Some of the facts that you want to share with us, you know, how exactly the cancer even occurs.
Skin cancer begins when a normal cell undergoes a transformation where the cells start dividing more rapidly, causing that normal cell to become abnormal. And when the cell becomes abnormal, it acts more aggressively and it can invade the surrounding tissues. And in some cases of skin cancer, like with melanoma cases at certain times, it can spread to other areas of the body and invade the tissues and the organs there.
You know, there obviously are those 3 million people in the U.S. that are actually diagnosed each year with some type of the disease. As a doctor, tell me some of the things that, you know, when your patient come in, how their reaction is to that. Is it something that is really surprising?
Sometimes it is surprising, like the case I mentioned before, where somebody is really thinking they have a benign lesion, and then I tell them, no, I think that lesion is suspicious. So that patient may not be prepared for what I'm going to tell them that day, but I always emphasize the fact that how wonderful it was that they made the appointment to come in, that it's great that we were able to remove this lesion, hopefully at an early stage, to prevent them from having more problems down the road.
You know, I'm just curious about this as well. You know, as a doctor, do you feel like you have a lot of patients that come in hoping to prevent, you know, skin cancer from occurring, or do they come in when it's getting to the point where it's almost too late and it has formed into
It's
melanoma?
Such a great question, because we see both. I think as the years have gone on, because I've been in practice now for a long time, there has been so much more awareness. We have the internet, there's so many more forms of communication. People, I think, are well aware that they should be protecting their skin. A lot of my patients, if they have young children, are very good about protecting their child from day one to help prevent that, you know, their kids from having problems down the road. So I see a lot of patients who come in and they want me to check their skin just to see if they have anything suspicious. And then I have some patients, and I would say probably older, you know, patients who come in after the fact. So they have a spot they really are a little bit suspicious of, but they may not want to know what it is, and they've kind of put off coming into the clinic. But it's why we just encourage people to come in as early as possible. I love doing preventative skin checks, because I might be able to find something, a suspicious lesion, get rid of it early for someone and prevent them from having a bigger procedure down the road.
Let's kind of start from the beginning. Let's say, you know, we have some folks watching this evening, maybe they've never been through a dermatology experience. Walk us through the steps that take place, what you can expect as soon as you enter the door.
So when someone comes in for a skin exam, so people coming in for the well skin check, that it's as simple as calling the office, making an appointment, telling the appointment desk why you want to come in, and then when patients come in, they are asked to put on a gown. Typically, they can live on their undergarments, and then I go in and just do a general inspection. You know, we try to glance from the scalp down to the feet.
Oh yeah, the scalp. I think a lot of folks don't realize that. You really do, in between toes even.
Toes, feet. A lot of people don't think that they have gotten sun exposure there, but you do. If you've ever gone swimming, I mean, you do get sun exposure, maybe not intentionally, but you do. And I've had numerous patients who were sent to me from their hairdresser who found a lesion in their scalp and sent them in to have it checked. Because it's very difficult on your own body to check your scalp, to check at your back, to look at the backs of your legs. So those are areas that I really particularly like to focus on. And even though I will tell my patients, hey, I trust you, you know, if you see something that you're worried about on your chest, that you will come in. But what if something happens in the middle of your back? Unless you have a loved one who can look at it for you, that's one of the values that we can offer as dermatologists. You
know, I do want to ask, since you just brought that up, being a dermatologist, you're out and about every day. Do you ever notice things, you know, standing in line at the grocery store, you know, even watching folks on television? If you ever, as a doctor, are you always aware of that?
You are always aware of it.
Yeah.
I do notice it a lot, and it's a difficult line, because I don't want to seem nosy, you know, to a person, a stranger on a plane or something along that line. But I usually will try to bring it up in some kind of indirect conversation to maybe encourage the patient to get the spot checked without actually telling them to get the spot checked. So it's I think any line of work, you are more aware of your surroundings in that respect. All
right. Well, Dr. Dawn Vincent, as tonight continues to go on here on 5+ with our Medical Monday segment, we're going to really dive into a lot of things about skin cancer. Going to learn a lot tonight. And of course, I want to remind you, you know, feel free to call in this evening. We'd be happy to hear from you. We want to hear your questions. Again, any stories maybe you have to share, or anything, just, you know, even advice you want to share with others if you've ever been through this experience. We're going to go ahead and pause for a quick break, and we will be right back.